CeDARE, the Centre for Developmental Applied Research in Education, is 5 years old. CeDARE has brought together, within the School for Education Futures, research, knowledge transfer, consultancy work, to add to the school's profile as a top quality provider of undergraduate, postgraduate and doctoral programmes.
CeDARE started really as a way of bringing together the research capacity that was in the school already and to try and take it on to a different level by giving us a framework where we could bring in other researchers from different departments and hire additional readers. So it became a hub around which we hoped that we could learn some of the real skills and ideas around delivering high quality externally funded projects while at the same time building in the internal capacity in the school.
CeDARE does more than that. It also supports research across the school. All academic staff are part of a research cluster, and CeDARE supports those clusters in every possible way.
One of the major tensions throughout CeDARE's development has been the issues around generating sufficient funding externally to support the core staff, and at the same time bringing in staff from all the teaching areas and giving them the opportunity to develop their research agendas, both by being engaged in external projects, but also by developing relationships with researchers, having an opportunity to discuss their research and giving them the support they need, from bidding through to publications, through to attending conferences, that raises the profile of educational research within the school and, more importantly, within the university.
The largest research project we've done since CeDARE was set up 5 years ago was the longitudinal study of early years professional status, which we did for 3 years until 2012. That research looked at the impact of the status on early years professionals' work, the settings they worked in, and obviously the children with whom they work.
That was a 3-year longitudinal project, and until that point we'd never really built a big team involving the early years practitioners in the department and the core staff of experienced researchers. And to do that and to put that together for 3 years to influence policy on early years, to affect the government's agenda about training, was a particularly proud moment for us.
It was a large project drawing on case studies, 2 large surveys, lots of interviews with practitioners, some observations as well of children and practitioners. And it's probably one of the projects that had the biggest impact in terms of national policy, in that a lot of the policy around early years childcare, early years qualifications has been influenced to some extent by that research. So initially set up by the Children's Workforce Development Council, but with the changes that have gone on over the last few years, it ended up being published and used by the Department for Education. The other project funded by the Department for Education was the impact evaluation of the Early Talk programme, another early years piece of research, which looked at children's centres across England and the work that's done in terms of speech, language and communication. So that was an 18-month project with quite in-depth case studies, observations again, lots of work with practitioners. We're in the early stages of undertaking 2 pieces of research in Scotland. The first one is an evaluation of Play at Home, which is a programme of play materials to encourage parents to play with their children and to support them in getting children aged 0 to 5 to play and to learn through play. So that is a project based on focus groups. We're going to be talking to lots of Scottish families. It follows on from previous evaluations that didn't reach all of the parts that evaluations might reach, in that it's looking at vulnerable groups, vulnerable families, the kind of people that research often doesn't get to. So it's quite a labour-intensive piece of work, but it should get some interesting results, in that these are people who their voices aren't often heard in research, particularly around their children. They're often disregarded, so we're quite excited about that. And the second piece of research we're doing in Scotland is a survey of looked after children. It's kind of health and well-being survey, and again it's focusing on kind of vulnerable groups that don't necessarily get involved in research. It's a survey that's done genuinely with children across the UK, but across Scotland particularly. But looked after children often, again, don't have their voice heard. So it's a way of specifically focusing on this group of people, young people and young children, and ensuring that their needs are registered and hopefully met in the future.
One of the most effective parts, I think, of CeDARE has been our ability to communicate quite complex research findings in practical ways. We've used a lot of video for that. We have a very good website which is visited by a large number of people interested in research, but also the practical implications for that. Because the centre is around development and applied research, and if we can't make it accessible to people, it's not going to get applied.
One of our main projects in the digital field was the evaluation of ICT in initial teacher training, which was for the TDA, Training and Development Agency for Schools. So we evaluated all of their projects, their innovative projects, where they tried to integrate ICT into teacher training and thereby also integrate it into schools. So this was an impact evaluation project that looked at, I think that we did 6 case studies, and for us it was quite innovative in that it was the first time that we used video case studies, and that's something that's become a feature of CeDARE's work going forward, and now all our projects use video case studies. But that also led into further work on one laptop per child type studies, which we then started working on developing different pedagogies and co-designing them with teachers, which led into other work in that area that we've looked at in the digital field. We've recently been looking at a digital intervention to engage young dads to become better fathers, which has been interesting. Also work coming out of that, we developed an impact evaluation framework out of the TDA work, the ICT in ITT, and that's really led to a lot of our digital engagement in terms of trying to engage stakeholders more in the outputs of research, rather than it being a paper that you read. They also get a video, they also get very small infographics and takeaways. So really we think we're quite innovative in that area.
There are 3 strands of international work that are led by CeDARE for the School of Education. They are internationalisation, support for international students, and international research. The international research involves our academics in a range of projects with colleagues from different institutions worldwide.
At the moment we're doing a project with 3 European partners for the European Commission. It's called the LIGHT project. The title is Lost in Transition in Europe. It looks at strategies to get people who traditionally don't go to university into universities, and as a comparative element, looking at tactics and strategies for getting people into university, how they're different in different European countries, and will produce a website which is intended to be used by people, not just in those countries, but across Europe.
Another project we've been involved with, obviously with the movement of funding away from the UK towards other markets, we engaged with a teacher development project in Palestine, which we didn't expect to do, but it seemed to fit our skill set. So for the past 2 years, we've been working with the University of Hebron and 10 other Palestinian universities in the West Bank in developing teacher education there. In terms of using ICT, also in terms of methodology and pedagogy and other issues. We've also set up a partnership agreement with the University of Wolverhampton, where we're trying to enhance research and develop an online MA programme as well. That also led then to working with the UN Relief Works Agency to look at their school-based teacher development programme and look at how that might be accredited. So we're quite interested in working in the Middle East.
The internationalisation of the curriculum involves all our staff in the use of academic and research papers that can support the development of their programmes, but it also is about opportunities for students to work in international settings. The most recent of those has been a supported visit to schools in India for teacher educators in primary education. In terms of the international student support, we provide a range of activities for students at home, but increasingly we are recruiting students to branch campus in different parts of the world, where again they receive the same type of support for learning as they would do in the University of Wolverhampton. Our most recent development is in Mauritius, where we're looking to work with a partner to develop a number of courses, some of which are educational.
One of the measures of success of CeDARE would be that over the period of time that it's been in place, We went from, in the REF in 2008, being one of the bottom quartile universities, in fact we were 120 something in the long list, to being in the middle quartile within 4 years. And I'm sure that in the next REF we'll be even higher and would have outstripped many of our competitor universities.
It's helped develop a national and international profile for the school and the university in the field of education, and all I can add to that is happy birthday CeDARE.